Paper money isn't wealth, it's a promise. And the moment that promise breaks, entire nations panic, because paper money has never been valuable by itself. You can't eat it, you can't build with it, you can't survive with it. The only reason it works is because people believe the paper represents real value, and throughout history, that belief has been tested again and again. And sometimes it collapses completely. Today, I'm going to walk you through the hidden history behind paper money, why it was created, how it became powerful, and why it has a dark side most people never learn about. Stay until the end, because once you understand the history of paper money, you'll understand why inflation happens, why currencies collapse, and why the rich play a different game than everyone else. Let's start at the beginning. Before paper money. Money had to be real. Gold, silver, coins, things that had value on their own. If you held gold, you held wealth. If you held silver, you held purchasing power. That's why people trusted it. But there was a problem. Real money was heavy. It was hard to transport, and it was dangerous to carry. Imagine traveling across the country with bags of gold. You weren't just carrying money, you were carrying a target. So people looked for a safer way, and that's where paper money began. At first, paper money wasn't supposed to replace gold. It was simply a receipt, a claim ticket, a promise that you could trade this paper for real gold later. That's why early paper money worked, not because paper was valuable, but because it was backed by something valuable. The paper was basically saying, "Trust me, this equals gold." Now, here's the first big twist. Paper money made trade faster. It made business easier. It helped economies grow. People could buy and sell without carrying heavy metal. It felt like progress. It felt like innovation. And for a while, it was. But every innovation comes with temptation. Because once paper money exists, someone eventually asks the dangerous question, what if we print more pattern interrupt? Paper money is the only invention where people saw a receipt and thought, what if we copy it 1,000,000 times? Now, here's where things get serious. The moment governments realized paper money could fund big spending, the game changed. Wars cost money. Empires cost money. Political promises cost money. And taxes aren't always enough. So leaders started using paper money to stretch power. At first, they printed a little, then a little more, then a lot more. And that's where the promise starts weakening. Because if the paper is backed by gold, you can't print unlimited paper. But if you break the backing, you can print as much as you want. And that's the moment paper money stops being a receipt and becomes a tool of control. Now, the second twist. Banks got involved. Banks were trusted to hold gold safely. People would deposit gold and receive paper notes. Those notes could be traded like money. But the banks noticed something. Most people didn't come back to withdraw their gold. So banks took a risk. They started issuing more paper notes than the gold they actually had. They were betting that not everyone would cash out at the same time. And this is where the modern banking system begins. A system built not on piles of gold, but on confidence. Now, here comes the cliffhanger. What happens when people lose confidence? A bank run. Everyone shows up at once. Everyone wants the real gold. And if the bank doesn't have it, the promise breaks. That's why paper money has always been tied to fear. It works perfectly when people trust. It collapses fast when people don't. Now, let's talk about the part most people never learn. Paper money has been used for centuries, and it has failed many times. Whole nations have watched their money collapse because leaders printed too much. Prices exploded. Savings became worthless. People rushed to buy anything real: food, land, tools, gold, because paper couldn't be trusted anymore. This is why history teaches the same lesson again and again. Paper money is not wealth, it's faith. Now let's connect it to the modern world. Today, most money isn't even paper. It's digital numbers. It's a balance in an account. It's a swipe of a card. It's a tap on a phone. And just like paper money, it works because people believe it will still work tomorrow. But digital money has an even bigger risk. It can be created faster and controlled more easily. One policy change, one rate decision, one emergency law. And the money system can shift overnight. Pattern interrupt. We went from gold you can hold, to paper you can trust, to numbers you can't even see. Now, here's the most important moment in paper money history for the United States. When the dollar was connected to gold, and then disconnected. For a long time, the dollar represented gold in the system. It gave people confidence. But when governments needed more flexibility, especially during major spending, the link weakened. Eventually, the modern world moved into a system where money became fully fiat. Fiat money means money has value because the government says it does, not because it's backed by gold. And once money becomes fiat, the promise becomes political. Now, why does this matter for your life? Because when money is a promise, that promise can be stretched. And stretching the promise causes inflation. Inflation is what happens when more money chases the same amount of goods. Prices rise, your savings buy less. Your paycheck loses power. And people start feeling like life is getting harder. Because it is. Not always because you're doing something wrong, but because the value of money is changing. Now, here's the real reason paper money stays alive. It's useful. It makes the economy move fast. It makes borrowing easy. It makes business grow. It gives governments flexibility to react to crises. But the same flexibility can be abused. Paper money gives power to create money, and power is always tempting. That's why some of the biggest disasters in history were not caused by storms or earthquakes, but by broken money promises. Now, let's make this practical. What can you do with this knowledge? First, understand that saving is important. But saving alone isn't enough if your money never grows. Second, build skills, because skills are value that inflation can't erase. Third, avoid toxic debt, because debt becomes heavier when the economy is unstable. Fourth, invest when possible, because ownership is one of the only ways to protect buying power. Fifth, stay calm, because panic makes people do dumb things at the worst time. Here's the real lesson. Paper money is powerful, but fragile. It can build nations, and it can break them. It can create growth, and it can create collapse. And the difference is always trust. If people trust the promise, the system works. If they stop trusting it, the system breaks fast. So the next time you hear people say, money is just paper, remember this: paper money isn't wealth. It's a promise. And smart people don't just chase the paper, they protect their buying power, build assets, and build skills that survive any system. If you want more money truth, financial history, and wealth lessons in simple language, subscribe to Cashfree World and hit like so YouTube pushes this to more people who need it. And comment below, do you trust paper money long term, or do you think the world is headed toward a new kind of money?